G'day and welcome back to Ethan's Wildlife. It's been a while, and don't worry, Herping Southeast Queensland Part 3 is nearly out, but today we're doing something a bit different. This is going to be the first video in a lifetime series that I want to do. I'm going to be travelling all around Australia looking for every species of terrestrial snake that we have. That is my lifetime goal. I'm a big fan of snakes, as you probably know watching my videos. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be finding every species in Australia, and we're going to be starting in my home region of Southeast Queensland. I've already seen a good number of the species that you can find here, but I haven't videoed them all. Some of them I've included in videos, but we're going to be starting from scratch and getting a video of every single species in Australia, or at least that's the goal. So yeah, let's see what we can find in this beautiful location, one of my favourite herping spots. So there's a number of species that are active day and night around this sort of rainforest / wet sclerophyll forest area, which you can see the vegetation here. This is looking really good because the ground cover is quite dense, which is good for snakes. And now the tricky part is actually finding them. So there's two main methods that I use when looking for snakes: hiking and road cruising. So obviously we're doing hiking at the moment because we're on foot. And so something I like to do is to scan little pockets of habitat next to the path as well as on the path, because sometimes they come onto the path. You'd be surprised how many snakes you can find using this technique. And even in areas where lots of people go hiking, like here, they're still active and people walk past them without even realising. So it's a pretty good method for finding snakes. And here we already have our first snake. I actually nearly walked past him myself. It's quite well blended in. It looks quite cold. This is a yellow-faced whip snake. They're really quite common around eastern parts of Australia, and this is actually a large individual. They're mildly venomous, and it's not something you'd really want to be bitten by, but they're usually very quick to flee. This one is quite still, I imagine, because it's cold. Let's see if we can get a better angle of it, because there's some really cool coloration on the head I'd like to show. Nah, off it goes. It's still there in the undergrowth. So this snake is quite a small species. They don't usually grow over a metre. They're about 80 centimetres long on average. So this was actually a pretty big one. They tend to have a black teardrop shaped marking under the eye, and they can come in a variety of colours, from like grey through to olive, usually with a yellowish or olive flush on the head, which you could see earlier. But I think I'm going to have good luck filming this guy now that is hidden away. What a good example of this is different to the Herping Southeast Queensland videos because we're focusing on snakes, but I will include other animals of note. This is a dark bar-sided skink, very common lizard, and this is probably one of the main skinks that will be running around that yellow-faced whip snake would be feeding on. So there's a lot of skink activity along here, which is probably why there's quite a few yellow-faced whip snakes around here. It's one of the more common species I see out on this trail. So here's another yellow-faced whip snake. It was just chilling next to the path. This one's also decently sized. You can see the head a little bit better here. So you can see the marking on the head here. It's quite distinguished in this individual, just curled up in the grass here. How amazing. You see he's going into the leaf litter now. And you can see how I'm not harassing or distressing the snake in any way. And it's calm. I'm at a safe distance and he's just chilling. He's using his tongue. That's how snakes sense their surroundings, with their forked tongue. And you see he's got big eyes that's used for tracking prey as well. They're very quick and diurnal. Day active snake, that's what diurnal means, it's day active. This is one of the more common species that you can encounter in southeastern Queensland, and they're quite often found in urban areas, even in people's gardens. Wow, you can definitely see why the whip snakes are so active. Look at the environment here. They can occupy a range of environments, and there's tons of little lizards active, which is what that whip snake would have been looking for. Crazy. Literally just saw a third yellow-faced whip snake zoom across the path at high speed. There's no way I could have recorded it in time. This place is crawling with yellow-faced whip snakes. It disappeared down there, well out of sight unfortunately. But have a look at this. We've got a snake skin. So as we start to descend down the track here, we're going to enter a bit more of a subtropical rainforest climate, which should yield a couple of different species if we're lucky. This location, the Gold Coast hinterland, is one of the only places where you can find tiger snakes in the wild in Queensland. They're mostly found further south in cool climates, but you can find tiger snakes in the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast hinterlands. We're in the Gold Coast hinterland at the moment, and you can also find them in the Carnarvon Ranges in central Queensland and at Bunya Mountains, which is northwest of Brisbane. So hopefully we'll find them. I've found they're quite rare in Queensland. I actually haven't seen a wild tiger snake yet, so that would be incredible. Oh, how disappointing. Literally just right there, curled up, there was a marsh snake. They're a mildly venomous snake as well, and they're also quite small, and they're quite common around this part here. And around here they're usually what's called melanistic, which means they're black, but in other places they can be a lighter colour. They are a species I've featured previously on Ethan's Wildlife, but would really love to have filmed it. Oh well, we might see another one if we're lucky. So we actually have another snake to film now, and it is a chonker. This is a coastal carpet python. You can see the body down there. This is quite a big python. Now they're non-venomous, but they can deliver a nasty bite in self-defense because they've got really sharp teeth. Now these guys are what's called a constrictor, which means they'll wrap around their prey and squeeze it, cutting off oxygen supply to the heart and eventually killing the animal by cardiac arrest before swallowing it whole. Now they can be nocturnal or diurnal, so you can see them day or night active, and they can be found on the ground like this, but they're also really strong climbers. This is by far the snake I encounter the most, and there's quite a number of different varieties of carpet python in Australia. So this one that you find on the east coast of Queensland is the coastal carpet python. We're going to try and find all the different varieties as well, because they can look quite different and stunning. Let's see if we can get a clearer picture of this guy. So there we go. Look at him, just sunning himself. This one's actually got quite a drab coloration, I'd say is in shed maybe. You can often tell if the eyes are cloudy because they don't have movable eyelids. They have a scale over their eye which they also shed. It looks quite cold too. Beautiful snake. So hopefully here you can see pretty much all the snake. Although he comes, there's his head around like that. They're a big species, but they rarely grow to be over really 2 meters, maybe a little bit over 2 meters. I'd say this one's probably a little bit over, maybe at about 2 meters long. What I've noticed about carpet pythons is they can have different personalities. So some of them can be really calm and others can be really defensive. This one seems to be quite calm. Here's a good shot of that typical carpet python pattern. And they'll eat a wide variety of different prey, including birds and small to medium-sized mammals. And if I can get a better view of his head, I'll show you some of the key features of a python. One of them you can actually see here. The mid-body scales are quite small and they're in more rows than your venomous elapids. So you can see his head, quite distinctive python head, and you can see along the lips they've got little heat sensing pits along the lip which they use to detect their prey. So that's typical of a lot of pythons. Not all pythons have them, but most do. And the head scales are fragmented in this species. You can see that beautiful eye there. So this one isn't in shed. It's just a darker individual. It's really cool. Alright, well, we'll leave this guy be and see if we can find any others. That's 5 snakes today. Wow, already such a successful snake watching trip. 5 individuals, 3 species. Bit bummed out we missed that marsh snake, but you never know. We could find another one. There's plenty of hiking left to go. Right, so we're halfway done our hike for today. You can probably hear some mowing and chainsaws and that. It's because there's a tourist lodge just over there. We're now going to walk back to the car park, hopefully find some more snakes. Really gunning for a marsh snake and a red-bellied black snake. If you live in Australia, especially on the eastern coast, you should know what a red-bellied black snake is. I've featured them many times, but they're really cool. So hopefully we'll find one of them as well. Have a look at this land mullet. It's Australia's largest skink. Yeah, cool. Alright, so we got a snake here. I'm thinking it will be a marsh snake. He just needs to move his head into a visible position for me. Okay, yep, it's a marsh snake. They are a mildly venomous, smaller elapid. This is a large one, and they feed mostly on lizards and frogs, and they like wet climates such as this. You can see this individual is very dark. It's black, with a lighter brown head, and there's 2 distinctive pale stripes, one behind the eye and one over the lips. Very typical of the marsh snake, and that's how you can identify this species from others around here. Of course, my camera's nearly going flat, but yeah, this is a marsh snake. Absolutely stunning. Switch to my phone to save battery power in case we find another snake, so I can record on the camera. But yeah, you can just make out this marsh snake here. So they are mildly venomous. The bite from one of these will probably cause a pretty severe headache and pain and swelling. But they're not dangerous, or at least they're not considered to be. Absolutely beautiful little snake. You can see his little head's popped out there. And they're a small species. They don't usually grow to be a metre long at all. They're under a metre long on average. So I would say this is a large one. And they're found throughout much of eastern Australia. I'm using my zoom, but you can see some really good detail here. Absolutely beautiful. You can really see those white lines behind the eye and the upper lip. Very distinctive for the marsh snake. And they can come in a range of colours from light brown and tan and olive through to this black colour, which is more typical of your more northern Queensland and southeast Queensland coloration, even into northern New South Wales. Alright, let's leave this little beauty be. Whip snake number 4. You can see this one has got a really bright rufous back. So beautiful. That was whip snake number 4. That's crazy. I didn't record too much of it because of 3 reasons. We've seen lots of them today. It was on the move, and also, silly me, I forgot to charge this before going out today, so it's nearly flat. I'm saving it in case we find another species, but We're nearing the end of the hike now. You can see the beautiful view back there. So I'm really impressed with today's action. I think we've seen about, I think I just heard another one. This could be number 8. All right, so that brings us to the end of the first episode of finding all of the Australian snakes. So we found 3 species today. It was excellent. We found, I think, 8 snakes. Oh, it was a good day. Well, I've got to head home now. I'm about to partake in the most dangerous thing I'm going to do this entire series, and that's drive home. All right, see you guys later.